Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game So today I got a fun and interesting video for you guys today, and one that you asked for and I promised I would make by the weekend. Now that Paprium has been dumped and you can emulate Paprium in RetroArch, I'm going to be going over the entire installation process for the custom core, talking about how to set all the files up so you can play Paprium via emulation today, because a ton of you in the comments paid hundreds of dollars to get a copy of this game and received absolutely nothing. The whole Watermelon Paprium scam was an absolute disaster, but at least now you can play the game. And damn it, that's the least Paprium could do for people, especially the people that paid a lot of money to get a copy. You're at least going to be able to experience it now. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And don't forget, I do have the Patreon tier support system where you can actually direct chat me for getting emulation help, but if you pay attention to this tutorial from start to finish, you should be totally fine. And just as a couple qualifiers, I'm doing this on Windows, but it will basically be the exact same system whether you're using Steam Deck or Android as well. You're just going to change one file out. And please watch this thing from start to finish. Do not skip around. Every single time someone asks me why it includes something in a tutorial, I give them a timestamp to where that exact information was, and they basically write, maybe I shouldn't have skipped. So definitely watch it from start to finish and you will be successful. What we're going to do first is go over the files that you're going to actually have when you download these. Finding them is on your own accord, but you can basically find them anywhere. You'll see we have the Paprium zip file as well as the Genesis GX Plus core, because by default right now at least, the core within RetroArch is not going to run Paprium. Now it is likely that this is going to be updated at some point in time and just be able to update your core, but for now it is still manual install. So go ahead and unzip those core files. The newest ones are from the 8th of July as of the recording of this video. If there is a newer one, I will notate it in the description down below with a date. You're going to see here we now have that Paprium underscore gen plus x underscore core. That is the file we're going to need, and then we're going to unzip Paprium as well. If we go into the Paprium folder, you might find cores in here that are going to be older than the ones I'm currently talking about. So if you see anything from before the 8th, don't use that. Use the one from the 8th or whatever I dated down in the description, or else you might have some freezing and glitching going on. And don't forget, this is still a work in progress. So you're going to see here in the Paprium folder, you're going to have paprium.bin, and also you're going to have a Paprium folder with all of the different MP3 files in it. You need the MP3 files in that Paprium folder, or else you're not going to get music when you're playing the game. And I've seen a lot of people say that they get to play the game, but they have no music whatsoever. That is because the MP3 files are not in the proper folder. Don't move anything around. So you can go ahead and copy these two files right here, and you're going to go ahead and put them into wherever RetroArch lives. This is going to be different on every single system, so wherever your RetroArch installation is where you're going to want to navigate to. Now in the cores folder, you're going to go ahead and move over that .dll folder. I accidentally brought over the .info as well because I had both selected, but that's fine, it doesn't do anything there. Then you're going to go ahead into the .info file folder, and you're going to go ahead and put that info file in as well. It'll ask you to overwrite. You can change the name if you kind of want to have two installations. That is up to you. And additionally, at this point in time, maybe this will come over on the actual core in and of itself, not the custom Paprium core, but the standard Genesis GX Plus core. So you can always just try to update your core listing system and see if that's going to come over, because I have seen some notation on GitHub that this is basically being worked on or being incorporated here soon. So maybe by the time you watch this, you can just go ahead and actually update that core. Always a second way to do the same thing. Now from here, the first time you run the game, you're going to come up and you're going to load content, and you're going to select the bin, and you're going to select Genesis GX Plus if you move that .info file folder over and you have the DLL in there. If it works, you're going to go ahead and see this mini game load up. If you don't see this menu here, it just goes to the mini game. That means you don't have the proper core installed. So look for this first. It's going to ask you to select your language, and then it's going to go into a very weird mini game. This is the second stage in which a lot of people get tripped up. This mini game here is kind of just for fun, and the first time you play it, you have to basically either turn your Sega Genesis off or reset it to get into the main game of Paprium, which is a lot different in RetroArch than it is on real hardware. You can play around with this for a minute or two if you want. It's not the most exciting thing in the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's just kind of there to play around with. And I feel like it's more successful if you actually let your player character die, because for some reason, even on my original hardware, the first time I reset it and I hadn't died yet, I ended up right back in the minigame. So a little bit of recommendation, die at least once, it should be easier. And once that's happened, you go ahead and just hit start, and then you'll go ahead and basically go into the RetroArch menu, and you're going to restart the core. If this all works correctly and you have the proper .dll file there for Genesis GX Plus, you'll end up in the main game of Paprium. But at this point in time, you're probably going to end up with a hanging note as well. It's going to be running the game, but there's going to be this weird audio in the background. Just seems to be a little bit of that memory persistence from RAM, how they trick this game. Go ahead and reset it a third time, or go ahead and quit RetroArch and launch back in. If you don't hear that hanging note, then you're now into Paprium and everything should be working fine. Here's a sample of the audio. If it sounds like this, you're 100% good to go, and you can start enjoying the game. That's what Paprium should sound like in Genesis GX Plus, and it is slightly different than the actual hardware, but I'm sure we're going to get there soon for perfect audio reproduction. If you have a hanging note, you need to restart one more time. My last recommendation, just to get the best experience out of Paprium, is to go into the core options menu and basically scroll almost all the way down until we get to the sprite limit toggle. By default, this is going to be off. If there's too many sprites on a single line in Sega Genesis hardware, you get flickering. Sometimes developers use that to hide some things or have some visual tricks, but here in Paprium, if you actually turn the remove per line limit on, you're going to get a much better experience. So go ahead, here's your soundtrack sample. It should look, sound, and play like this, and I'll be right back. So basically that's the long and short of getting Paprium set up on RetroArch today for Genesis GX Plus. And before you leave a comment down below, again, this should work perfectly fine on Steam Deck, and if you're on Android, you're just going to have a different Android base file to put into the cores folder, but otherwise everything would work exactly the same. And right now you're watching the footage via RetroArch emulation, and just for a little bonus at the end of the episode, I'm going to show you how it looks and performs based upon its comparison to Sega Genesis hardware, because I was one of the people that did receive a Paprium cartridge, and I've been kind of ragging on Watermelon for the last 6 months or so, basically calling them out for stealing $1 million from people and delivering absolutely nothing, which is just a huge disappointment. Now you're looking at real Sega Genesis captured hardware. This is from a CDX with a SCART cable coming out of the back, and just be aware, in GX Plus you can enable with Sega CD support the second player CPU. Basically you can have a player 2 that's controlled by the processor in the Sega CD, giving it some AI. It's not the brightest AI in the world, and honestly a game like this is going to be a lot more fun with an actual human next to you, maybe with some beers, than it is going to be with an AI CPU opponent. But it's one of those things that is something you can do, and a lot of people don't know about that. And now that Paprium's out in the wild, there's still a ton of secrets that have never been found in this game, and I'm sure now that there's going to be thousands upon thousands of more people playing it, you're probably going to see very quickly a lot more of this game get uncovered. Now, is it a game that's worth playing? That's totally up to you. I think it is decent. It's nowhere near as good as the hype back in the day made it out to be, and its mythical status definitely wishes that mythical. It isn't true whatsoever. This is not one of the best Sega Genesis games of all time. It is just a decent game that's mostly well known for making off with $1 million worth of money and delivering absolutely nothing to fans in the process, which is absolutely a disappointment. But if you have played this game, leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think of it, because I would be curious. It is worth checking out, but it does take a little bit of setup, and again, I understand this game can screw with you sometimes. Sometimes it'll even miss a piracy check and basically crash itself. But again, if you get stuck here and you keep going to the minigame over and over, you are not loading the right core and you haven't installed the right core. If you hit restart and you get back into that minigame, you just need to go back and make sure you copy the right files to the right destinations. If after the first time you see the minigame, when you restart, you end up back in the main Paprium game, then you're good to go and you can play it from there on every single time you load the game up. Because it was just a fun little gag from the developers to trip you up and think Paprium was just a really shitty 8-bit game, but honestly, honestly, it's just a really decent 16-bit game that did the shitty thing and made off with $1 million of people's money. And while this is never again going to put your money back in your wallet, at least now you'll be able to play Paprium if you didn't receive a copy. And I guess that's about the best consolation prize Watermelon Games is ever going to deliver to us. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Again, if you need custom help, I got that Patreon tier where you get chat support from me, but otherwise, if you pay attention to this tutorial, you'll be playing Paprium and you'll get to decide whether or not that mythical status was actually deserved. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want more tutorials, leave me a comment down below and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.